Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, good whatever it is for you. This is it's a little bit of a special one today. I'm joined as always by Gaz. How you doing, big dog? How are you?
I'm good. I like it when you say "as always," as if like it could be Josh Allen or George on the bump with you. But yeah, it's not. It's the OG couple are back. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good enough. It's as always, I'm ecstatic to be joined by you. The other guys are good, but you're my favorite, and you can tell them that. Don't worry, I don't mind.
They'll listen to this, I'm sure.
I reckon so. But the reason today's special is because we got an interview lined up. We are joined by the general manager of the Portland Sea Dogs, Jesse Scaglion, and I apologize immensely if I've got that name wrong. Why don't you bring him in and you can tell us for himself if I've butchered his name immediately.
You crushed it. Scaglion, you nailed
Let's
it.
go.
That never happens, ever. This is a good start, boys.
Thank you. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit here with us and put up with our nonsense. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited for this, and I got the A team here, so I'm great.
Oh, the other guys are going to be so annoyed when they listen to this, and I love it. So, as always with these interview episodes, we like to start, we can talk about the team a little bit later. We always like to start with the person that we're interviewing and just sort of getting your background. So, Jesse, tell us about yourself. How did you get into baseball as a career, and then sort of how did you become the GM of the Sea Dogs?
Yeah, it's a pretty classic story. I grew up a huge sports fan, playing baseball my whole life, played hockey, played basketball, no football, but really was just a big sports fan. Had a lot of great memories with my dad going to Yankee games as a New Yorker growing up. And I always knew that I wanted to work in sports in some capacity. It was pretty obvious early on that I had no career as a pro athlete. That's pretty easy. My dad always kept me in check on that one. So after I finished at school, I knew that sports was where I wanted to go, and I actually got an internship with a hockey team, a minor league affiliate of the Ottawa Senators, selling group tickets and ticket packages and kind of anything that you could sell that wasn't stapled down. And so got really into it. I loved going to the stadium every day, to the arena, getting ready. Like hockey for me has always been fun because it's this like cold, dark environment, great music. It's electric. There's high energy, but I also love baseball my whole life. And so back in the day, we used to have the winter meetings in baseball, and there'd be this huge job fair, and everyone would flock to like Disney World or Texas or California for a 4-day conference. And so I went with some friends, and someone actually kind of pushed me to go and made me do it. And I interviewed with I think it was about 15 teams in minor league baseball. There used to be 140 of us. And so I interviewed with about 15 of them, got a few job offers, and there was a team in the same city where I had been working in hockey in Binghamton, New York, which is now the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, formerly the Mets, and interviewed with them and got this great opportunity to go to Binghamton or stay in Binghamton and become a group sales intern, basically just 100 phone calls a day, selling ticket packages, group tickets, and worked my way up. As I was there, I learned how to deal with like sponsorship sales and marketing decisions and team operations, special events. Kind of in minor league baseball, we joke that we wear many hats because it takes a small group of people a lot of work to get something done. And so we learned everything there, and I was very fortunate for my 5 years there. We actually won a championship, which was a lot of fun. We knocked off the Sea Dogs in the playoffs, so I still bring that up to the staff here, which is always good and very competitive. And then the same friend who convinced me to go to the winter meetings back in 2010 convinced me to go visit them in Lexington, Kentucky, where there was a minor league team that they worked for. And I had a weekend off and figured, you know what, I've never been to Kentucky before. Like, let's go check it out. And I flew down there for the weekend, and I got to spend time with the owner of the team. And he convinced me to leave Binghamton and go down there to work in corporate sales. And then eventually I got my hands wet with food service and premium sales and skyboxes, and just worked my way up there as well to eventually become chief operating officer and general manager of that club. And then very fortunately, I met an amazing woman who was the broadcaster for the Legends at the time, and she got an offer to move to Portland, Maine, and be the voice of the Portland Sea Dogs. And so I undoubtedly followed her very quickly, not to screw that up, and eventually married her. So that worked out really well. But I was very fortunate that a job opened up here in Portland in ticketing. So I kind of went back to my roots and spent time in Portland, working my way back up, and was named the 3rd general manager in team history back in February of last year. So it's been a wild ride through a couple different cities, spent time in West Virginia as well as New Jersey, just kind of going as anywhere baseball will take me.
Nice. It's kind of, it sounds like you've kind of had a similar career to a player maybe working their way through the system. Players go from, high school to college to, the various, if they get drafted, work their way up through the affiliate system, or if they have to go independent ball. So it seems like you've had a sort of similar ride to a player.
I have, and that's kind of part of why I love it so much is like, you think about it, I have people that work here that have been here for 30 years. And I think that's so cool that they can stay hunkered down in one location for that long. But for me, like, I love the idea that I've spent time at all these different ballparks with different staffs and different people. I like to joke about how many former interns I have in other cities and places now. And, it's almost like players when they get traded, you go to another team and you see your old friends somewhere and you support them still and want them to do well. So it's really cool. Our industry is really small. I mean, it's 120 teams across the country for independent or for affiliated, but it's a really small group of people and everyone kind of knows each other. And so you have that, like, kind of like the players, you get traded, you leave, you go somewhere else, you still have friends there, you meet new people. I just think it's the coolest thing and I love it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that sets baseball apart from maybe all of the other sports. It's just like how connected the teams are and the way the affiliate systems work. I know you've got the G League in basketball. I know you have the affiliates in hockey, but just the sheer number of levels as well with baseball, having that sort of 4-tier if you count affiliates, and then even more if you count Arizona Fall League and all that fun stuff that I don't fully know all about. But it's just cool, and as part of the reason why we podcast about it is because it's a sport that we enjoy, and it's an area that we haven't really touched on too much on this podcast. We talk about British baseball, we talk about MLB, and we're just pumped we finally get to speak to someone who's an expert in the affiliate ball world, to be honest with you.
It's the minor league baseball is the best thing in the world to me. Like I've been all over the world for sports. I watch pretty much every sport humanly possible. I get into all of it. And for me, minor league baseball, it just sets the tone for this different level. I mean, there's a huge development piece to this. Players come up from, as early as 17 years old in the complexes and things like that to 19 in the States. And then you get to see those careers progress and guys who you root for that maybe are not big prospects, but all these things that happen. But at the same time, there's also this entertainment piece to it where if you go to a big league game, you're there for the big league game. You're there to see the Red Sox play the Yankees. You're there to see what happens on the field. Whereas minor league baseball, we give you both the baseball and the entertainment side. So it's about seeing your friends in your section of seats. It's about seeing the mascot, the fireworks, the promotions, the themes. And so it gives you like a more accessible, unique version of the sport. I mean, you go to a Sea Dogs game, you can sit in the front row and talk to our first baseman. And most of the time he'll respond to you. You can't do that at Fenway. So for me, like, it is the best world possible. I love seeing some of these careers develop. You make a lot of friends and family. For me, it was literally family, which was great. But, like I said, I love it. I think it's the best place in the world. And it is an insanely vast system of moving pieces and coaches and players and parts of the country and indie ball and college ball and draft leagues. And I love it all.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more intense for kind of the casual baseball viewer who's just worried about the Yankees or the Red Sox, or in my case the Cubs. Whereas some people are sort of grinding their way a little bit below. You got to worry about the teams above you and the teams below you. So it's a really cool kind of spot that the Sea Dogs are in, which is great. It's fantastic. One thing I want to know, because I've sort of been wondering this ever since you agreed to come on. We hear the term general manager, right? And it's in the UK, it's the general manager is kind of more like, it's definitely more of an American term. In the UK, it's like, it could be the manager of a store or like a regional manager. But I hear the term general manager, and apart from managing stuff, I wouldn't actually know what that role does. So what do you actually do as the GM of the Sea Dogs?
I'm trying to figure that out too. No, it is. I'm responsible for the business, for the entire facility, for everything that happens except for the actual roster. So the Red Sox provide us with players, coaches, trainers. That is their decision, their discretion on who goes up, who goes down, how trades work. That stuff is all specifically, based on what the Red Sox do. So my job is to make sure that, we have our staff, our game day operation, our facility is intact, tickets are being sold, sponsorships are being booked, marketing is happening, food and beverage is happening. The field is playable. The clubhouses are clean and neat. Like, my job is to basically be that catch-all of everything and be the Swiss Army knife to help any which place I need to go department-wise. And then I'm the connection to the Red Sox and to Major League Baseball. I'm the liaison, the go-between to make sure that the players and coaches have everything they need, as simple as like knowing what's happening that day on the field in terms of like promotions, as far as travel, helping with travel. We have someone here who does that, but making sure that everything is kind of buttoned up nicely. And so it gives me the ability to learn a little bit of everything and be involved in everything, and making sure that the staff does what they're supposed to do, and really gives me the best perspective on kind of the 50,000 foot view of the stadium to see what's happening daily. So I'm never locked into one place. I'm just kind of everywhere.
Nice. And have you found yourself sort of over the years, as you've become sort of higher up within the organizations you've been at, do you tend to get a little bit more baseball exposure as well? Like, you start to, as you said, you support the guys that come through the system. Do you ever get like, someone might go, oh, we want to send this player up to AA, and you've heard some stuff and you're like, I don't know. Have you got more exposure to that?
Yeah, I definitely have. I mean, before I was in Portland, when I was in Lexington, we were affiliated with the Kansas City Royals, and I was learning how to deal with like travel and basic stuff. And then COVID happened, and this contraction happened, and we lost our affiliate. And so we moved into the Atlantic League, independent baseball, and then I got exposed to like chaos of how do I build a roster from scratch, and how do I hire coaches, and how do work visas, how does that work for international players, and how do I put all this stuff together? And that, I think, gave me a great experience in terms of how it works here. But I'm definitely exposed to it daily. I work really close with our coaching staff and a lot of our players. You get to know, it's just like any other job in the sense that, those are our coworkers. Like, we have to work well together to make a product happen that we're all proud of. They're just the really cool aspect of their professional athletes, and you might see them on TV on a global scale one day. But other than that, it's still just a very like basic human interaction, which I think is great. And again, it's always nice to work with an organization that has the reputation like the Red Sox do, because there's a classiness behind it, there's efficiency behind it, so it helps.
Nice, I love that. And so just to sort of float over to the Lexington Legends element of it, obviously you learned a lot when they moved from affiliate ball to independent ball. As you said, independent ball is known for being a bit more chaotic. What would you say would be sort of the biggest takeaway you learned from that time there, and how have you used that in your time as the GM of the Sea Dogs?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned there is patience and how to handle. It's kind of two-sided. It's patience, and then how to handle like last minute changes. In sports, and I guess in life, there's always things that get thrown at you at the last possible second. In sports, it's always at the worst possible time, and that's things like, I'll never forget, first road trip in the Atlantic League. Our team showed up to the hotel in High Point, North Carolina, and the hotel thought we were coming the next day, because they didn't realize that the new team in the league had to travel, over 10 hours or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And so I had to figure out at 2:45 in the morning how to get these guys hotel rooms somewhere else. And you learn how to deal with like bus issues and personalities and trades and signing players. I mean, I traded a guy, which I thought was like the craziest thing. You do it in like the video games or fantasy sports all the time, or you always yell at the TV, like, trade for this guy. And then you do it and you realize that there's families involved, and people have to uproot their lives and move. And you just kind of learn how to deal with a lot of chaos and a lot of things thrown at you, but then also be patient and let things unfold, because it will work out if you're prepared. So it definitely prepared me for this job.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, I can't imagine actually like physically trading a player. As you say, I do it on like the show when I'm playing it. Or,
yeah.
Like, when I play FIFA and that. It's
wild. I was, it's one of my favorite stories. I was actually here in Portland in the press box. I would spend time in Lexington and Portland, split my time in half. And so I happened to be in town visiting my wife, and our vice president, who oversees the press box here, called me and said, hey, can you come in and work in the press box for today? We're short staffed. You're a certified scorer or whatever. I said, yeah, no problem. So I came in, and the GM from the Gastonia Honey Hunters called me and said, hey, we really need a catcher. We really like Jake Romanski on your team. He's interested in moving. Are you cool making a trade? Here's what we're thinking. And I was like, let me call you back. I got to call our coaching staff and talk to them. And I hang up the phone, and one of the guys sitting next to me heard the name, and he remembered him from when he played for the Sea Dogs a couple of years before that. this whole discussion breaks out. There's a baseball game in front of me. I'm trying to work, trying to talk to these guys, and then I get the call again. So I called him. He's ready to go, and we made this whole deal happen in like 25 minutes and submitted the paperwork on my phone. And I just think it's so crazy to think that so simply in a 20-minute conversation, we uprooted some guy's life across the country somewhere else, and he was in the lineup the next day for that team. So it is really wild to see how some of these operations go.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's
you never think of it, right?
How did you keep on with the scoring and stuff if you were doing all of that? Did you have one guy on strikes and one guy on balls for you?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of multitasking. That's one thing I've learned to do really well is multitask in this industry. But I was very fortunate. I would do all my phone calls between innings, so there'd be a break in the action. I'd do a quick call, and then I'd jump back in, and I had the AirPods going, and you just you get creative with it. I'm sure I missed something somewhere. There's no doubt.
I think you should be personally sponsored by all energy drinks just to keep that level of just drive going. That's why.
In baseball, you just go all the time. It's just always go onward.
So just quickly on, obviously being, you said that the Red Sox kind of deal with everything else that you don't do, which is, well, everything. But do you ever get kind of calls from above being like, hey, we want you to do this? Or have you considered kind of doing this kind of promotion because this guy's coming back down on a rehab assignment, things like that?
Yeah, it's a very good working relationship. They pretty much let us do our thing. They steer clear of us. We have a 30+ year track record of being a successful franchise and an organization. So they typically don't involve themselves. The only time they do is when it's like you said, rehab. We've had some historic rehabs here. David Ortiz, Chris Sale, two of our largest in-park attendances we've ever had. They're very quick to call and make sure that we don't release things too early. We have a plan in place. The staffing is in place. Security is in place. There's protocols that have to be met. And so they're very good at sending emails ahead of time, giving us a heads up before we see it in the media so we know kind of how to plan and coordinate. One of the really cool traditions in baseball is when a big leaguer rehabs in the minor leagues, they will actually go and pay for the catering spread for the team that night. And so they'll usually get a note that will say, hey, Chris Sale wants to have a steak truck brought in. Can we, can you help him out with that? Or 1 year, a player rented 2 taco trucks and brought them to the ballpark and fed both teams and the front office staff. So it's like coordinating little things like that, or, housing and transportation and rides from the airport and cars and a lot of security measures and things like that. So the Red Sox are great about collaborating for sure on those things.
That's pretty cool. I do think it's one of the cooler things when the big leaguers kind of have to come down for whatever reason and they kind of look after all their like little brothers. I think that's really fun.
We've been very fortunate. We've been very fortunate too, because a lot of them like to come to Maine from a vacation standpoint. Maine is Portland's a beautiful, beautiful city, and we're on the coast. And so a lot of those guys will kind of push the Red Sox to make their rehab appearance here in Maine. Chris Sale notoriously would only pitch here for a couple of years, and so we'd get Chris Sale rehab like every year, it felt like, and he would show up and he would take care of everyone, and that kind of stuff benefits us greatly. I mean, that's a huge financial win for us. So
yeah, the only people celebrating when Chris Sale gets injured, just like, yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah, like, all right, we got him. Let's bookmark it for July.
We'll get the bobbleheads ordered. That'll be it.
Exactly.
No, that's pretty cool. I mean, we touched on it briefly, but with your kind of knowledge of AA, if there is a larger trade going on and there's minor league players as part of that, how involved are you? Like, do they come to you kind of a little bit more casually and be like, we're looking at James Tipp the third, whatever. It's like, have you seen him play? Do you like it? Are you ever involved casually in those conversations, or is it a lot more kind of formal?
It's a lot formal. Occasionally I'll get a message, like we'll get a text from one of our front office guys at the Red Sox, like, hey, what do you know about this guy, or personality wise, or have you had any issues, things like that. I talk to the scouts a lot more than I do the Red Sox on those things. We get a lot of scouts to our games. They'll just ask questions, like basic stuff. Again, have you met him? Is he a good guy, family guy? They like to really know about the players they're trading for. I'll tell you a funny story with Tibbs specifically. The morning after the Tibbs trade went down, we had a season ticket holder autograph session and breakfast here. And so we've got 400 season ticket holders show up early. We make them breakfast. The players come out and have breakfast with them. And these two little kids, they're probably 12 years old. They walked up to our hitting coach at the time and said, "Hey, why'd you guys trade James Tibbs? I play with him in the show and he can rake." And our hitting coach, without missing a beat, turns and looks at me and points at me and goes, "That's the GM. He traded Tibbs. Go ask him." And so now, every time Tibbs hits a home run, because I'm not sure if you're familiar, but he is on fire in AAA. Every time Tibbs hits a home run, I get a text, "Shouldn't have traded Tibbs."
I understand. Have you ever, obviously without naming names, but have you ever been like, yeah, no, you don't want that guy. He's a bad egg. Yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah. All right.
I mean, you build a trust relationship with scouts and things like that. When they ask questions, you try to give them the truth about things. And sometimes they don't care. Sometimes they really just, it's talent based, right? But I'm usually pretty open book about those things because I think it's important to get them right.
Right on. And has there ever been a time where you've been like, not starstruck, but like if David Ortiz or Chris Sale come in and you're expecting them to be there, but you're still a little bit like, oh, holy shit, is this guy?
When I was starting in my career and I was a lot younger, I definitely would. Like if we had big league rehabbers or like big prospects, things like that, I'd get really excited. As I've gotten older, that's died down just because, like I said, it's my job, and these are just people trying to do the same thing you're doing. And so for me now, it's just more of like a cool factor that, it might sell the ballpark out, or it's cool to see the players get to spend time with these guys. But from like a fangirl status, I've dropped that over the years. Now it's just nice to be able to have them around. And also it's nice to meet them and talk to them and learn what makes them successful and, what their opinions on things are too.
No, that's awesome. Thanks very much. I think we got some questions that were sent in by some of our listeners and kind of followers on Instagram. Before we do that, Gaz, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I guess like, speaking from like a GM perspective, what would you say makes the Sea Dogs special? I mean, obviously you've got a cracking mascot, cracking name. Like the Sea Dogs are such a cool animal. Let's not beat around the bush. It's definitely in my top 5 of like baseball franchise names. What makes the Sea Dogs special?
I think it's our staff, honestly. There's a lot of minor league clubs out there. There's a lot of repetition in terms of like what promotions or theme nights people do. And it really is. We have the best staff in minor league baseball, like by far and away. We talk about this all the time, how it's such a small operation in terms of like minor league baseball. We know everyone. We know all these people. And there are a lot of great people in this industry. A lot of people I lean on for advice and to kind of go back and forth with. But our staff by far is the best in all of sports. And it shows because we've got so many veterans on our staff who have been here for 25 plus years. We've got people that have been interns and worked their way up. We've really built this great culture here where everyone has the same goal, which is to win and be the best we can be off the field, whether it's, like I said, promotions, themes, community pieces. We do a ton of community work with Slugger, the Sea Dog, and being out there. And our staff really makes this place special because we excel in a lot of things like customer service, fan experience. And so for us, that sets us apart from the other 119 teams.
I love that. And I think my last question before we go to the mailbag, we've spoken about, some people, but where you might have put a nudge and a wink and gone, yeah, don't really like the look of him. Are there any sort of players or coaches or managers that have come through the Sea Dogs, or we can go back to the legends at your time that you really enjoyed playing and you sort of focused on their career? If there was like 1 or 2 guys you can just pinpoint, like, I was proud to be part of their growth in a way.
Yeah, it's not the people you would think. Like it's never like the big top prospects. It's never the big names. Like I was joking with someone the other day. When I was in Binghamton one year, we had Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, and Steven Matz was our rotations. He already won the championship. And like watching deGrom against the Yankees last night was so much fun. Just remember, like, oh, I know that guy. I've been out to the bar with him, and know his story. It's the guys that are not expected to do well that do really well or that get to the majors that I think is so much fun. One of my favorite people ever in this industry is Rob Carson, who was a pitcher for the Mets. He ended up with the Angels for a little bit, indie ball guy for a while. Last year was a pitching coach for the Mississippi Mud Monsters. Rob and I were roommates for a little bit in Binghamton when we were there, and he got called up straight to the major leagues from Binghamton. They had a pitching shortage. The AAA affiliate was in Las Vegas at the time, and they needed someone close by to Citi Field. And we usually would send the players in a car service, but our car service was unavailable. And so I actually got to drive my roommate from Binghamton directly to Citi Field for his big league debut, and was there when he got to call his mom and tell her, was there when I actually drove him right up to Citi Field and parked accidentally in the owner's spot at the ballpark. And then I was going to leave, and he said, no, you have to be here. Like, someone has to be here for me if I get in the game. And so in my like BMET staff polo and hat, and went upstairs with the wives and girlfriends and sat in the WAG section and got to be there for this Mets game and see him. And unfortunately didn't pitch that night, but he made his debut a little bit later that week in Toronto and struck out Omar Vizquel, which was like crazy to me in his first appearance. And so watching him do that was really fun. He ended up pitching on and off, like I said, for the Mets and the Angels. But eventually, when I got to indie ball with the Legends, he was the first player I called, and we offered him a contract and signed him. So he pitched for me in indie ball. So it was like a cool full circle moment that I grew up with this guy in baseball, and then I was able to sign him and extend his career a little bit longer. So that's, for me, that guy's top.
Nice. Love that. Absolutely love that as a story.
I challenge you to find me one single person with any ounce of interest in baseball that doesn't have the coolest, most heartwarming story in all of the world. Like, every single person has a story that's just like, it restores my faith in humanity a little bit. I'm just like, wow, that's really awesome. Usually it's with like guys in the UK with like, you know, like Adam, for example, Adam Murray, who the reason he's a Red Sox fan, well, was a Red Sox fan, was because his best friend was a Red Sox fan, and because he would stay up late watching the games with him and stuff like that. Every single person just has a really cool story. I love this game.
Baseball has the ability, I think, to bring people together in a different way than a lot of sports do. And I think the kind of like the passiveness of it, and, you know, there are longer days at the ballpark, there's memories, but there's always this like special, like you said, there's always a special baseball story. For me, it was growing up as a kid going with my dad to games. Like, that was our time together. And, you know, yeah, I'm a Yankee fan because I lived in New York and that was relevant to me, but plenty of my friends grew up fans of other teams because maybe their first big league game was at that park, or a family member somewhere else did that. For me, like, I'm New York sports through and through because that's what I grew up with. But then I go to Premier League and I'm a diehard West Ham fan. I'm a West Ham supporter, season ticket holder. There we go. So and it's all because my cousins in England were West Ham people growing up. And so that my moment of being introduced to the Premier League was going to West Ham. And so I just feel like sports plays that beautiful kind of binder of like, you forget all the real bullshit going on in the world. You forget everything that's bad is happening, and you can just focus on one thing for a couple hours a day. And that's the best. It's the best part of it all.
Sorry, people are going to see me on YouTube shaking my head at the fact you're a West Ham fan. It's only because I'm a Spurs fan, and we're currently against each other in the relegation battle, and we're probably Spurs.
I don't know if it's against. I think it's probably done, but I mean,
yeah, I think we are at that point.
Please, it has to happen. Karmically, it has to happen.
That's horrible. Why would you say that? Mailbag. We have got 4 questions. 4? 3? 4. There's one more that came through late, but I'm hoping we won't trip you up on that one. So we got some questions from our fans. We opened it up. So our first question is, obviously you say you sort of deal with scouts, fairly often. I think it's more of a general point. How early are teams scouting players now? Because you always you hear the stories of like, oh, the Dodgers have signed a 14-year-old Venezuelan kid and given him $150,000, and he's 6'8", 220 pounds, and hit 75,000 home runs last season in the Venezuelan under 12s league or something like that. So how early are people now, starting to scout these players out?
It depends on where in the world you are. The international kind of system that we have in place right now, like you mentioned, they start at 13, 14 years old. The MLB clubs have academies in these major countries. Venezuela, Dominican are the 2 top, and they get scouted so early, and they look at some of these crazy metrics, and the rules are kind of a little less. There's a little less restriction down there than there is in the States. In the States, it's high school. They really started high school. They start getting recruited. We have area scouts here who come to our high school games, our field all the time. We've got some kids in Maine who have been drafted the last few years out of high school, which is really cool. And that's really when the scouting starts. But it's amazing how much money gets put into youth baseball in this country. We were talking earlier, there's a kid who comes to games a lot with his family, and he's 12, and his parents probably spend 8 to 10 grand a year on baseball for him, travel ball and uniforms and equipment and traveling around the country for it. And I don't know if it's worth it. Like, you never know. On the flip side, with the international stuff, our top player is Franklin Arias right now. He's 20 years old. He signed with the Red Sox for like $500,000 out of Venezuela when this would have been, he would have been 17 years old. And he's already rose, to Double-A. And so you never really know like what's going to happen in those. That's a huge development gap. 17 to 20 years old, your body's bigger, you're stronger, you're faster. So everyone tries to get the advantage and start young, but there's still a lot of restrictions in the States on who you can talk to and how you go about it.
Nice. Great answer. I couldn't have put it better myself, because I'm not a GM of a minor league baseball team. It's the main reason, but also a great answer. Our second question, probably more relevant to sort of the GM role that you've described that you do. Obviously, you get these players coming from various different backgrounds. You have a mix of the guys that are on the major league, come down on a rehab assignment. You've got some guys from AAA probably come down if there's a demotion, and likewise, it's a lot of moving parts, right? I'd say AA and AAA are probably the areas that get the most movement. Probably AAA followed by AA, just because of you're closer to the big league level. You've got players getting promoted all the times. Trades tend to happen at the AA level because of other teams are more sure of their development. So how do you deal with all these players from different backgrounds, and how do you make Portland feel like a home for everyone that comes there?
Yeah, it's tough. There is a lot of movement. And I mentioned earlier how there's so much of a personal level to this. People, you get kind of uproot your life for the summer, right? You go to Florida for spring training, and then you show up in Portland and you try to play your heart out and get to Worcester or the Red Sox. And you're kind of by yourself. Your team is your only family at that point. And so we try to do our best here to welcome all of our players and coaches and make it an experience for them, whether it's helping with getting them golf on the days off, or making sure they know what restaurants to go to. They have hotels lined up if their parents are going to visit. We provide them with like an info packet when they get here that just has pages and pages on information about everything, like I said, from hotels to restaurants to what to do on your off days. We do it in English and Spanish. And then our clubhouse manager, Mike, is kind of where all this starts. Mike is the MVP of that stuff. He builds relationships with the guys every day, makes sure they know what they need, takes care of them. And for us, it's just trying to show them that, like, you are a 20-year-old kid on your own living in Maine, a place you've probably never been before. We have people that can help you with anything and everything if you have issues. And, whenever their parents come to visit, we try to spend time with their parents just to remind them, like, your kid's safe, it's okay, like, we're going to make sure it happens. And we build a lot of great relationships with families because of that. I always laugh whenever we play in April, there's snow. It snowed on opening day this year, it snowed on opening day last year, and the amount of guys who've never seen snow before when they get to Portland, and now they get to Maine and it's like 30 degrees Fahrenheit and there's snow coming and they don't know what's going on. It's so fun to watch that exposure to a different climate, different part of the world completely. So it's awesome, but we work with them the best we can so that they're comfortable. It's a big part of it.
Nice. I can't imagine if I'm sort of a 17, 18-year-old kid coming out of Central America. I've probably never heard of the word snow. So I imagine playing on opening day, I'm looking at it going, what the fuck is going on here?
Out a bit, for sure.
It's wild. Yeah, I mean, our pitcher, we had a pitcher here, Donnie Monegro, who started opening day last year for us. My first game as GM here. And I went out to talk to the umpire pregame, and I'm looking at my phone, and there's nothing on the radar. But there's a snow squall happening, and it's just snowing hard. And I'm showing the umpires, they're like, when's it going to stop? I don't know. It's not on the radar. It doesn't exist. It's just magic. And I went over to our pitcher, and I talked to our manager, Epi, and I said, hey, are we good to go? And he was like, yeah, Monegro, are you good? And he was like, uh-huh. I was like, great. He has no idea what's about to happen. And then went out, and as soon as he got to the mound, it just stopped snowing. It was fine. But we've got, huge propane heaters in the dugouts going at all time. Like we've got layers and beanies and sweatshirts. I mean, it is, guys, figure it out.
Crack on. Good luck. Yeah, amazing. Our third question, we like to get a little bit topical. We're our baseball podcast, of course, always at the cutting edge of news stories when we report them a week late in our Rounders Roundup each week, which says more about us than it does about the wider baseball community. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock or this is your first time listening to a baseball podcast, you'll be aware that the Boston Red Sox recently let go of longtime manager Alex Cora, along with, it seemed like, his entire backroom staff and half the fans. There's been a bit of a shake-up. Obviously, there's sort of been an interim manager named who was the manager of the Woo Sox, who were the AAA affiliate. And I guess the question here is, with the recent shake-up of the managers, have you felt that impact down at the Sea Dogs yet? And if not, then would you expect to?
We definitely have. It's never a good thing when people lose their job, and it's always tough, especially I've never seen a baseball team, let go of 7 coaches in one shot in the middle of the summer before. It's usually at the end of the year, or changes happen. But we felt it at home a few different ways. One of those coaches is a Portland resident. Portland grew up here, so I mean that's huge right there. And then the biggest part of this is our team manager, Chad Epperson, our guy, he got promoted to the majors also. He's the new third base coach for the Red Sox. So this all happened about 4:30, 5 o'clock Saturday evening. I got a phone call from him kind of messing with me. He said, "Hey, I'm not going to be your manager anymore." And I'm freaking out like, what happened? Did you get fired? Did you quit? We had just won this electric game where we hit a walk-off home run with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Franklin Arias, the 20-year-old, comes off the bench cold and hits an absolute new. And I'm thinking, like, life is great. So he's either calling me because Arias got promoted or something else. And he's going on and on about how things don't work out. But, he's really appreciated his 5 years with me in Portland and everything we've done together and golf and this and that. And I'm like, what happened? And he tells me what's going on. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, this is huge. Like, you're going to the majors. So we talk about players who you root for. This is a guy who's been in minor league baseball as a player and coach for 30 plus years. And he has grinded his way. He was a catching coordinator, a manager, a player. And now he's in the big leagues and he's getting this opportunity to be the big league third base coach in games that are really important and decisions that he can make to really affect it. And so I was really excited for him. Our bench coach, Kyle Sasalo, was named the interim or acting manager of the team, who I'm also really happy for because he's a great guy. He's a baseball savant. He loves everything to do with baseball. It's all he ingests every day is baseball. And so the next morning I get to the clubhouse and it's like a funeral because no one knows how to feel. Like you're sad about the guys who got fired. You're happy that our manager is now in the big leagues. You're sad that our manager is now gone. We have an interim manager. We don't know what's going on. And it's all happening in real time because changes were happening all day Sunday for the Red Sox. They were announcing more and more moves on Sunday. And so we just, our team responded really well. They went on the field and threw a no-hitter. Ninth time in team history, they go out, throw a no-hitter. About 10 minutes before the game starts, one of our rovers, we have roving coaches in minor league baseball where they work for the Red Sox, but they go between the affiliates and do things like outfield specific, catching, whatever. Our outfield instructor, I was joking with him. I said, "Oh, are you going to stay and be a bench coach now because we have openings and he used to be here?" And he laughed and he said, "No, my job is not changing," and then took a phone call and left. And then he left because he got called up to the big leagues to be the new first base coach. So that was Sunday morning. So now we're like down a manager, down a potential bench coach. We're throwing a no-hitter. I get a call from our clubhouse manager and he says, "Hey, can you get a car arranged? We have to take a player to the airport." And I'm like, "Great, we're having a roster move in the middle of a game? Like, what's going on here?" Our third string catcher, who is a Portland legend, he's the Shohei Ohtani of the Sea Dogs, Drew Earhart. He has hit a couple home runs for us this season. He's also pitched 2 games out of the bullpen in relief. He threw a 30-mile-an-hour ephus for a strikeout, which is, if you haven't seen the video, it's amazing. I love Drew. Drew retired in the 3rd inning of the game on Sunday and is now the bullpen catcher for the Red Sox. So then he's gone off to Boston. So it's just consistent changes that happened. I think the big league coaching staff was fine for now. We're getting a new coach to backfill our promotion here. So it definitely affects the day-to-day. Epi, who was our manager, was unbelievable guy to work with. Worked with him for 5 years here. Just a great baseball mind. We would talk baseball every day, every morning, go in there, sit in his office, talk to him about the Sea Dogs, the Red Sox, whoever. And we definitely feel it. We're happy for him to have that opportunity, but we're definitely bummed out as well that he's not going to be here every morning.
Yeah, changes. It's always good in the it's not a good circumstance for it to have happened, but you can't help but root for the guys that you said have been around for a while, and they finally get their chance to go to the show, whether they're a coach, whether they're a player, whether they decide to retire mid-game and become a bullpen catcher, which is the most incredible story I think I've heard.
So good.
Did he start that game? as catcher?
No, and there was a conversation that was had offline about, like, can we get him an at bat? Get him one at bat before this happens. And unfortunately, it didn't shake out that way. But I talked to him for a little bit before he left, and he seemed to be in really good spirits and knowing, like, he probably had a small percentage chance to be a big leaguer as a player. And I knew that coaching was kind of in his future, but now he's with the big leagues. He's up there with the Red Sox. He's up there impacting the game right now. And the cool thing is, a lot of the Red Sox are a young team, and a lot of those players came through Portland. Peyton Tolley, Connolly Early, just last year were on this team with Drew. So he's already caught them. He knows them. He has that relationship with them. They get to kind of, it's like your friends. You get to see your friends and go to work with them every day. So really exciting stuff.
I can imagine. And then the last question from our mailbag, which came in late, so I know I've not told you this one in advance. It's not a start bench cut, I promise. More of a hypothetical, although you did go through this maybe at your time in Lexington. Is there a difference if, let's say, the Sea Dogs were to wake up, let's say the Red Sox were to wake up tomorrow and go, we're going to trade the entire Sea Dogs affiliate with, I don't know, the Chicago Cubs, Knoxville Smokies. So you're no longer associated with the Red Sox, you're now affiliated with the Cubs instead, and vice versa. Is there, other than sort of all the personnel changing, is there a difference between like how teams operate, would you find, or is it very much all kind of similar? How would that work hypothetically?
Both. There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of standards and things that we run as Major League Baseball in the player development system, but there's also a lot of unique things that would have to be figured out. Each Major League club has a different focus in their development on how they handle things with financials. There's a lot of money that gets passed through between the two, and there's regulations and rules and signs and how you want things done. And then from a financial standpoint, it would be insane, because that would mean we'd have to rebrand everything in this ballpark, every piece of signage, every piece of marketing, every sign in the clubhouse, sign in the field, pocket schedule, giveaway, jerseys, hats, the merchandise, it would be an exhausting project. It'd be a lot of fun, but it would be an exhausting project. But I don't think it would matter to our fan base too much. I think, Red Sox fans would be kind of upset about it. We've been a Red Sox affiliate for a long time, and we're in New England, but we were the Marlins affiliate for the first number of years here. And our teal merchandise still sells well outside of, versus our Red Sox merchandise. So it would be a lot of fun. It'd be a crazy project.
Nice. Yeah, that sort of came in late. I'm not going to name names, but it was my fiance who sent that question in.
It's a good question. It's a great question.
I felt compelled to have to ask it.
And it's happened recently. It's happened a couple times because our ownership group owns 49 minor league baseball teams. And so a couple of years ago, we moved 2 clubs to new cities because the cities they were in wouldn't pay to support them and build new ballparks. And so we moved 2 clubs. And so overnight, we had months of planning, but pretty much overnight, we popped up in new cities with new affiliates and new relationships and stuff. So it happens, and it's a wild part of this business.
Is it one you're probably hoping won't happen for the Sea Dogs for?
Yeah.
I think we've come to our last segment, which is mine and Cal's favorite. So Jesse, you've been absolutely fantastic, but it's a tradition that's harked back at least a year now, because that's how long this podcast has been going, almost. And it's a real basic game. It's called Start Bench Cut. And Cal's going to explain the rules.
It is quite self-explanatory there. We are going to go 2 rounds. We're going to give you 1 baseball related and 1 not baseball related. Your job is to start 1, bench 1, cut 1, right?
Okay.
For the British amongst us that might not understand what that means, essentially, it's the same. Cut, I don't know, sell. Whatever it is in football terms. But we'll give you the choice. Do you want to start with a baseball related one first, or a non?
Yes, let's go with baseball.
All right.
Wonderful. I'm up. So I want you to think of this from the rivalry aspect of the game. So we all know that Major League Baseball clubs have their rivals, the Red Sox and the Yankees, the Cubs and the Cardinals, the Dodgers and the rest of the league. But that also is true for the minor league teams. And I've got 3 teams that are in the Sea Dogs division, the Northeastern Division of the Eastern League.
Yeah.
And I would like you to start one, bench one, and cut one based on how they are as rivalry games. So I've got probably your most local rival, unless I've read the map wrong, and that's the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, who are the Blue Jays AA affiliate. I've got the Somerset Patriots, who are the Yankees AA affiliate, because, you know, Yankees, Red Sox. And then purely just because I love the fact that they have a live petting zoo in their stadium, I've got the Hartford Yard Goats, who are the Rockies AA affiliate. So can you start one, bench one, and cut one from a perspective of these are the rival games?
That's a tough one. I think that people would assume that I would start Somerset because of the Yankees Red Sox, but I'm actually going to start New Hampshire. So we've got a really strong rivalry with the Fisher Cats, mostly friendly. It extends beyond the borders of baseball of being played. We actually share. We both have the same largest sponsor, Delta Dental, who sponsors both ballparks. So we are Delta Dental Park. They are Delta Dental Stadium. We also have a staff rivalry where a lot of people have worked for the Fisher, who work for the Fisher Cats, have worked here before. Their general manager, Taylor Fisher, is a good friend of mine, and our staffs actually have a softball rivalry coming up this season where we're going to play them. So from a rivalry standpoint, not a lot of space between Manchester and Portland. They're going to go number one for sure. I'm gonna bench Somerset. It is the Yankees. We are beating them right now in the second game of a doubleheader in New Jersey. So we'll take that. We always like a good Yankee-Red Sox rivalry. I am a Yankee fan, but I'm a Sea Dog fan before a Patriots fan there. So that's a big one. And I'm going to cut the Yard Goats because they have the goats, but they also have these really creepy mascots, Choo Choo and Chompers, that scare me. And we also just threw a no-hitter against them this weekend, so we'll get them out.
Great answer. I wouldn't have had that on my bingo card. I'm speechless. Cal, do you want to go with the non-baseball one whilst I catch my breath?
Yeah, so invariably this always ends up food related. So I don't know if you've been to many restaurants in the Portland area, and I really hope I've got the correct Portland this time because it goes back about a year. I got quite embarrassed about making some bold claims about Portland, but we've got some restaurants, and I'd like you to start one, bench one, cut one, based purely off of who had the highest TripAdvisor reviews. I don't actually know if any of these are any good.
Okay.
So your options are Duck Fat, Eventide Oyster Company, and DeMilo's on the Water. And my fourth thing is I really hope you've at least heard of all three of those places.
I have heard of all three of them. They are all each excellent in their own unique way. I am that's a tough one. That's a really tough one, Cal. There's like two home run choices right there. And the third one's a sponsor. So that's really tough. We'll get there.
Okay, let's change the rules of the game because I do it all the time and it annoys Gaz. You're going to dinner at three of these places. No matter what, you're going to go and you're going to have a lovely time with your family, your friends. It's going to be wonderful. Which place are you going to first?
Okay, so that's a good way to rephrase this. So I'm gonna put Eventide as number one.
Okay.
Normally I would not. Normally I'd go Duck Fat number one. But I'm gonna go Eventide number one for a few reasons. First of all, they have one of the best lobster rolls. I'm not a huge lobster guy, but it crushes. It's amazing. They have a great raw bar, and my wife and I are both big oyster people, and this place has the best. The other reason why I give them a nod above the others is that I'm friends with a couple of their chefs there. They're also New Yorkers, and they always hook it up. They take great service. They do a great job taking care of us. They have some of the best desserts and cocktails, all around experience, A+. So that was going to be my start either way. So we're good there. Duck Fat's going to come in second. We'll bench him for now. Duck Fat's awesome. We've been there quite a bit. They have an unbelievable milkshake option. Their Duck Fat shakes, and then their fries are out of this world. Anytime you fry anything in Duck Fat, it's going to be good. So really love that. And then my last is going to be DeMillo's, only because on an old casino boat, and it rocks constantly, and I'm just not about that. But they're awesome as well.
That's okay. That'll do for date night number 3 of consecutive equally important date nights. I reckon that'll be
yeah,
right.
for sure.
Well, fantastic. This has been incredible. I feel like I've learned so much and have become a Sea Dogs fan in the process of this. I might have to get a jersey ordered pretty soon. But thank you so much for your time. This has been fantastic. I've been Gaz has been Gaz, and Jesse's been generous and gracious with his time. You've been wonderful, and we'll see you next time. Oh, before we go, Jesse, is there anything you want to plug?
Just the Sea Dogs. I think check us out, seadogs.com, all of our socials, Portland Sea Dogs. I promise you we're the best minor league team out there.
Buy a hat. Have a good evening.